It's 2 a.m. You're standing in front of the fridge again. Not because you're hungry, but because something inside you is restless, lonely, tired. You close the door. You look at your reflection in the dark kitchen window. And for a split second you wonder, why do I keep doing this? It's not about laziness. You've tried. You've counted calories. You bought the organic groceries. You tried keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, gym memberships, accountability apps, you name it. And yet, nothing truly shifts. 70 million Americans are currently trying to lose weight, and still most of them feel stuck. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they're fighting the wrong battle. What if this weight is not the enemy? A quiet voice inside you whispers. What if it's trying to protect you? Carl Jung once said that the body and the unconscious mind are inseparable, that our symptoms are symbols, which means these extra pounds might not be about food at all. They might be holding a message you've been too tired or too afraid to hear. In this video, we won't talk about carbs or cardio. You've heard all that before. Instead, I want to take you into a deeper, more honest conversation about the 7 psychological and archetypal reasons your body may be holding on to weight and how real healing can set it free. Stay with me, because once you recognize these hidden patterns, fear of being seen, mother wound, suppressed desire, and more, your body may begin to change in ways that no diet could ever achieve. Because maybe the real weight we need to lose isn't just on the body, it's on the heart. 1. The fear of being seen. Why success can feel unsafe. Most people think they're afraid of failing, but here's the truth. Many of us are far more afraid of succeeding. Let me share a story. We'll call her Rachel. Rachel once lost 30 pounds. At first, she felt incredible, more energy, more confidence, but then something unexpected happened. People started noticing her. A man at work made comments, strangers looked longer, even her friends began treating her differently, and suddenly, she didn't feel safe anymore. Within months, the weight crept back. Now here's the shocking part. Studies show that over 80% of people who lose weight gain it back within 2 years. And it's not always about food, metabolism, or willpower. For many, it's the unconscious fear of visibility. Because what happens when the weight is gone? You get noticed. You might attract attention, even intimacy. People form opinions, sometimes positive, sometimes jealous. And if, like Rachel, you've ever been bullied, rejected, or even harmed for being seen, your body remembers. Your nervous system remembers. Extra weight becomes more than weight, it becomes armor. Carl Jung once wrote that the psyche resists change when it believes change is unsafe. That's why so many people self-sabotage. It's not fear of failure, it's fear of being seen. So instead of asking, why can't I lose weight? Try asking, what part of me feels safer staying invisible? I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt that being noticed was more frightening than failing? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your story might help someone else feel less alone. And once we understand how fear of visibility keeps us stuck, it's easier to see why food itself often becomes more than fuel. Sometimes it becomes love, comfort, and even a substitute for safety. Which brings us to the second hidden reason weight can stay: the mother wound. 2. Mother wound and emotional eating. When food equals love. When we think of food, we imagine fuel, calories, energy, nutrition. But the truth is, food is never just food. From the very first moment of life, food is tied to love. Think about it. The first time a baby eats, it's not just milk. It's warmth, safety, connection. It's the mother's arms. Now imagine growing up in a home where that connection wasn't safe, consistent, or unconditional. Maybe mom was absent. Maybe she was critical. Maybe she loved, but only when you behaved or achieved or made her proud. What happens then? Food steps in as the replacement. Let me tell you about Michael. Every night after work, he would find himself reaching for ice cream. He wasn't hungry. He wasn't lacking nutrients. What he was really craving was comfort, a hug, someone to say, I see you, I love you, you're enough. Ice cream became his stand-in for mother's arms. And here's why diets so often fail. When you strip food away without healing the wound, it doesn't just feel like cutting calories, it feels like cutting love. No wonder the body rebels. In fact, research shows that emotional eating accounts for nearly 75% of overeating episodes. It's not weakness, it's survival. Carl Jung described the mother archetype as the universal symbol of nurture and unconditional care. But when our own experience of mother is inconsistent, the inner child goes searching. And food becomes the one thing that never abandons, never criticizes, never says you're too much. Common myth, I just need more willpower. Deeper truth, I've been using food to mother myself. The path forward isn't punishment, it's reparenting. It's learning to give yourself the love, safety, and care you longed for, so food no longer has to carry that impossible burden. Let me ask you, when you crave comfort food late at night, what do you think you're really hungry for? Drop it in the comments. You may realize it's not sugar or salt, but something your soul has been asking for. And once we see how food can become a substitute for love, we can also see how our relationship with eating isn't just personal, it's inherited, passed down from generations, cultures, entire families. Which leads us to the third hidden reason: inherited patterns. Eating for generations, not just yourself. 3. Inherited patterns. Eating for generations, not just yourself. Sometimes, the weight you carry isn't even yours. Let me explain. During the Great Depression, families all across America faced food shortages. Parents told their children, never waste food, always finish your plate. That survival instinct became culture. And even today, decades later, millions of families still repeat it at the dinner table. So when you feel guilty leaving food behind, or you eat past fullness because someone else had it worse, you might not be listening to your own hunger at all. You're listening to ghosts. Take Sarah, for example. She grew up in a family of immigrants who had known famine. Her grandmother used to say, "Eat while you can. Tomorrow is never promised." As an adult, Sarah found herself overeating in secret, not because she wanted more, but because deep down, she was carrying the fear of scarcity that belonged to her ancestors. Jung called this the collective unconscious, the imprints of entire generations living inside us. And here's the twist. Sometimes your binge, your cravings, your guilt, they aren't personal failures. They're echoes of people who lived through war, migration, displacement, and hunger. Common myth, I overeat because I'm weak. Deeper truth, I'm carrying patterns that didn't start with me. Studies on epigenetics even show that trauma, including famine, can leave biological imprints passed down for generations. Your relationship with food might literally be inherited in your DNA. So what's the lesson? Recognition is liberation. The moment you realize this pattern doesn't belong to me is the moment you gain the power to end it. To say, it stops here, I choose differently. Have you ever noticed your family's voice at the dinner table, even when they're not there? Maybe it's finish your plate, or don't waste food. Drop it in the comments. You'll be surprised how many others grew up with the exact same script. And once we see how family and culture shape our eating, another truth becomes clear. Sometimes weight is not just inherited patterns, it's personal protection. A shield the body builds when life feels unsafe. Which takes us straight into the next hidden reason: trauma and body armor. 4. Trauma and body armor. When weight becomes a shield, sometimes the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Take Emily, for example. As a teenager, she was bullied for her looks. Every time she walked into the school cafeteria, comments about her body cut like knives. Later, in her 20s, she experienced an unwanted touch at a party. On the outside, she smiled and carried on. But on the inside, she felt unsafe in her own skin. Years later, Emily noticed something strange. Every time she lost weight, she would quickly gain it back. Deep down, her body had made a decision. If I'm invisible, I'm safer. This is what psychologists call body armor, when extra weight becomes protection, not punishment. The unconscious says, if I build a wall of flesh, maybe no one can hurt me again. Carl Jung believed that symptoms are symbols, and in trauma, weight can symbolize safety. It's not about weakness or lack of discipline, it's about survival. Modern science even supports this. Studies show that traumatic stress can alter the nervous system, increasing cortisol, the stress hormone linked to fat storage, especially around the belly. So the body literally holds on to weight as if holding on to safety. Common myth, I just don't have enough self-control. Deeper truth, my body is protecting me from dangers I once survived. The path forward isn't another diet or workout plan. It's learning to tell your nervous system, you are safe now. This might mean therapy, breathwork, trauma release practices, or gentle self-compassion. When safety returns, the body no longer needs the armor. I'd love to ask you, If your body could speak, what do you think it has been protecting you from? Share in the comments. Your answer might give someone else the courage to face their own truth. And once we understand how trauma builds armor, we can see another hidden layer. Sometimes weight isn't just about trauma or safety. It's about the conflict between the mask we show the world and the self we hide inside. Which leads us to reason number 5, persona versus true self, the weight of the mask. 5. Persona versus true self, the weight of the mask. All of us wear masks. Jung called it the persona, the version of ourselves that feels acceptable to the world. But what happens when the mask gets too heavy? Let's take David. By day, he's the perfect provider. He works long hours, never complains, always has it together. To his colleagues, he's confident. To his family, he's dependable. But inside, David is exhausted. He secretly craves rest, pleasure, freedom. Here's the paradox. The more David denies those needs to keep up the mask, the more his body resists his efforts to lose weight. Almost as if his body is saying, I won't help you maintain this lie. I'll slow you down until you stop pretending. This is the hidden rebellion of the body. Weight can act like an anchor, grounding you when you're drifting too far from your authentic self. Carl Jung warned about over-identifying with the persona. When you only live as the achiever, the caretaker, the strong one, the self inside feels starved, and the body steps in to balance the neglect. Common myth, my body is betraying me. Deeper truth, my body is refusing to support a version of me that isn't real. The path forward isn't more discipline, it's authenticity. It's asking, who am I beneath the mask? What am I truly hungry for? Rest, creativity, intimacy, freedom? Because once you begin to honor those needs, the mask loosens, and the body no longer has to rebel. So let me ask you, if you could take off your mask for just one day, who would you be? Share it in the comments. Sometimes just naming it can be the first step toward living it. And once we see how the persona weighs us down, there's another truth even deeper, even more hidden. Many people carry extra weight not just because of masks or wounds, but because a vital energy inside them has been repressed. And when that energy has nowhere to go, it often turns into cravings, compulsions, and heaviness. Which brings us to reason number 6, repressed sexual energy, when desire turns into weight. 6. Repressed sexual energy, when desire turns into weight. Jung believed our libido, our sexual energy, isn't just about sex. It's the raw life force that fuels creativity, passion, vitality, even our sense of purpose. But what happens when that energy is repressed? Let's meet Anna. She grew up in a strict religious home where sexuality was never talked about, except with shame. By the time she reached adulthood, every time she felt attractive or desired, guilt would rise. She told herself it was safer not to be noticed, not to be too radiant. So unconsciously, Anna began using food to dull her desire. Extra weight became her way of hiding her own sensuality. She wasn't just eating, she was pressing down her life force. And she's not alone. Many people discover that when their creative or sexual energy is blocked, it doesn't disappear. It transforms, often into cravings, compulsions, or heaviness in the body. Think about it. How many times do we say, I'm starving for something? But what we really mean is intimacy, touch, pleasure, excitement. The body translates unexpressed desire into hunger, and food becomes the safest substitute. Common myth, I eat too much because I'm greedy. Deeper truth, I've been feeding my hunger for aliveness with food instead of passion. The lesson here isn't to become sexual overnight. It's about gently reclaiming your life force through creativity, dance, movement, honest relationships, or simply allowing yourself to feel joy in your own skin. When you express your vitality in healthy ways, the body no longer needs to store it as weight. Here's a question for you. What's one passion or creative impulse you've been suppressing? Share it in the comments. You might find that naming it is the first step to releasing it. And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Because beneath all the fear, wounds, masks, and repression lies something even deeper. The ultimate Jungian purpose of life. The journey toward wholeness. Which leads us to reason number 7. Lack of wholeness. When individuation is blocked. Lack of wholeness. When individuation is blocked. Imagine your body as a mirror. On the outside you see extra pounds, but on the inside, what if those pounds were symbols, signs of the parts of yourself you've left behind? Take Mark. He was a successful entrepreneur admired by peers, But secretly, he longed to paint. As a child, he loved art. As an adult, he buried that part of himself under responsibilities, achievements, and the serious mask of success. Over time, he noticed his body growing heavier. No matter what diet he tried, the weight returned. It wasn't until Mark picked up a paintbrush again that something shifted. He didn't just lose weight, he felt lighter in spirit. Why? Because he was no longer starving his soul. Carl Jung believed the ultimate purpose of life is individuation, becoming whole by integrating every part of yourself. The light, the shadow, the masculine, the feminine, the child, the wise one. When this process is blocked, the psyche cries out through the body. That's why weight often isn't just about food, it's about fragmentation. It's the voice of the neglected self saying, "Don't forget me, don't repress me, integrate me." Common myth: if I punish my body enough, it will change. Deeper truth: my body is carrying the parts of me I've abandoned. The path forward is not discipline, but integration. Ask yourself, which parts of me have I silenced? Which parts of me are overfed and which are starving? What would wholeness look like for me? When you begin honoring all of who you are, the artist, the lover, the dreamer, the shadow, the body no longer has to carry the burden alone. Wholeness allows release. So I want to ask you, if your body could speak one sentence right now, what would it say? Write it in the comments. Sometimes the deepest healing begins with just listening. And remember, the weight you carry isn't just on your body. It's on your heart, your story, and your soul. When you integrate, you don't just lose pounds, you gain freedom. So now you've seen it. The 7 hidden reasons why weight often has nothing to do with food or willpower or cardio, and everything to do with the unconscious. 1. The fear of being seen. 2. The mother wound. 3. Inherited patterns. 4. Trauma and body armor. 5. The weight of the mask. 6. Repressed desire. 7. And the call toward wholeness. When you put them all together, something becomes clear. Your body is not betraying you. It's protecting you. It's guiding you. Every pound, every craving, every struggle is not a sign of weakness. It's a message, a living metaphor for the parts of you still waiting to be seen, loved, and integrated. And here's the truth. No diet plan will ever tell you. When you approach your body with punishment, it resists. But when you approach it with curiosity and compassion, it begins to let go. So the next time you look in the mirror, instead of asking, "Why can't I lose this weight?" try asking, "What is my body trying to tell me?" That one question could change everything. Now I'd love to hear from you. If your body could speak one sentence to you right now, what would it say? Drop it in the comments. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video resonated with you, if you want more content that expands your mind and heals your soul, make sure to hit subscribe to Psychology for Real Life, because the real weight we're here to lose isn't just on the body, it's on the heart.